Good morning, students. So let's revise what we have learned in the last class. We have read about tissues. Tissues are the group of cells. Then we have read about the two types of tissues, plant and animal tissues. The plant tissues are further divided into meristematic tissues and permanent tissues. So meristematic tissues divide and permanent tissues are made up of specialized cells. Again, permanent tissues are divided into simple and complex tissues, and simple tissues further divided into protective and supportive tissue. Okay, so we have read about the meristematic tissues are of three types: apical, lateral and intercalary meristem. Now we'll move. Whereas a simple permanent tissue is made up of cells which are similar in structure and perform a common function. So they are further divided into protective tissue and supporting tissue. So supporting tissue is further divided into parenchyma, collenchyma and sclera. The second type of permanent tissues are complex permanent tissue. So they are also known as conductive tissue or conducting tissue, and it has of two types, xylem and phloem. So xylem helps in the conduction of water and mineral salts and forms continuous channels through roots, stems, leaves, flowers and fruits, whereas phloem cells helps in translocation of food materials from leaves to various areas for storage and growth. It consists of living cells with protoplasm. So like plant tissues, animal tissues are also made up of different types of cells. When a group of these cells perform a particular function in an animal, then it is referred to as a tissue. I have a few characteristics of classification. Now let's see how the animal tissues are classified. So animal tissues are classified on the basis of the types of cells they contain, the nature of the cells, the amount of intercellular material present inside the cells, and the functions they perform. So there are four types of animal tissues: the epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscular tissue and nervous tissue. The epithelial tissue forms the outer covering or the protective layer. So you can refer it as the covering or protective layer. The connective tissue as the binding or supporting tissue, muscular tissue as contractile tissue, and the nervous tissue as responsive tissue. The uppermost layer of the skin which you see is built up of epithelial tissue. Now let's see the characteristics of the epithelial tissue. The cells of the epithelial tissue are tightly held together. They form the continuous sheets of cells and they are closely packed. That means there is no intercellular spaces in the epithelial tissues. Now all the cells of the epithelial tissue rest on the basement membrane. Being extremely thin, it is more effective as a secretory or absorptive surface. It covers and lines all the tissues and the organs. Now let's see the location where you will find epithelial tissue. So it is present on the outer surface of the skin, and it also forms the outer lining of the internal organs like heart, stomach, esophagus, etc. and as well as in various body cavities. Okay. See, the shape of the epithelial tissues may be flat, columnar or cuboidal. So there are several types of epithelial tissues like squamous epithelium, columnar epithelium, cuboidal epithelium and ciliated epithelium. We'll study about the different types of cells present in these types of epithelium one by one. Cells of the squamous epithelium are thin, irregular and flat. So you will find these in the inner wall of the ducts, blood vessels, epidermis of skin, lining of nose and mouth. Now see cuboidal epithelium. So this tissue protects the underlying parts from injury, germs and chemicals. Now see columnar epithelium. So the cells of this tissue are taller and broader. They are arranged side by side. You can see like columns. And the nuclei are present towards the base side of the cell. The tissues are found in the lining of intestines, stomach, pharynx and larynx. Okay, now see the next one, cuboidal epithelium. If you will see, the cells of this tissue resemble a cube. They have equal height and width with centrally placed nucleus. They are found in salivary glands, thyroid glands, kidney tubules, pancreas and liver. Okay, now see the next one. The cells has hair-like structure over it. So this is called ciliated epithelium. The hair-like structures are called cilia. The cells of these tissues may be cuboidal or columnar in shape, and they are found in trachea, oviducts and kidney tubules. Now let's move on to functions of epithelial tissue. The first one is protection. As the epithelial tissue forms the outer covering of the body and internal lining of the organ, it protects the body from germs, etc. Second is enhances the life processes, as they secrete enzymes, hormones in salivary glands and gastric glands, so they aid in the life processes. Third is secretion. You know, a number of epithelial cells are modified to produce secretions, which could be in the form of hormones or enzymes. The fourth is absorption of food. So they form the lining in the small intestine and so they help to absorb nutrients. Fifth is excretion. So this in sweat glands, kidneys, what happens? So sweat glands excrete waste with in the form of sweat, excess salt. Okay, and in excretion also the waste products are excreted out from the body, so thus they help in throwing out the waste from the body. Now let's see the second type of tissue, the nervous tissue. See, as the name suggests, nervous tissue constitutes the nervous system. Okay, so this system controls and coordinates all the body functions. So the nervous tissue is made up of specialized cells called neurons. Okay, so each neuron has each neuron's body part is divided into three: cyton, axon and dendron. Okay, so there is a diagram of a neuron. You will see the structure of the neuron. Then you will find out the cell body is called cyton. The short cylindrical processes in the C. So this is cyton, the cell body. This is the short cylindrical process. Okay, this is called axon and these are called dendrons. Okay, cyton contains the nucleus and nerve cells conduct impulses. Okay, and the axons bundles together to form a nerve, and that is connected to the brain and to the spinal cord. And the dendrons, they further divide into dendrites, and one of the branches is longer than the other. Now if you will see the dendrons, the terminal of these dendrites are connected with the axon, the terminal of the axon. This one. This is connected with the dendrites of other neurons. Okay. And what happens? This connection is called synapse, and the axons of several neurons are bundled together and forms one nerve. Okay. So nervous tissue is located in the brain, spinal cord and sense organs. Okay. So what happens? These dendrites, they receive messages or impulses from the axons, okay, and transfer them to cyton. The axon receives impulses from cyton and again passes them to the adjacent neuron, okay, dendrites of the adjacent neuron. So the neurons of sense organs detect changes in the environment or stimulus, and they also send the impulses, nerve impulses from brain or spinal cord for appropriate action. In the next video, we will see the other two tissues, muscular tissue and connective tissue. So today's class work will be: first question, differentiate between cuboidal epithelium and squamous epithelium. Then second question, write the functions of epidermis. And the third question, draw and label a diagram of neuron. Okay, that's all for today.